Hey guys, how you doing? So this morning, or today, I thought we would take a look at another YouTube channel's Diablo 4 video, because I think this fellow, Asmongold, he makes some really good points, and a few points I disagree with, so I'd like to talk about it. Um, Asmon, or Zach, is getting a lot of, let's just say, feedback, pushback, in certain forums and certain social media. A lot of people are upset that he made this video, and they're upset that he gets as much exposure as he does because he has 2 million subscribers. So he's a very influential YouTuber. And what they fail to recognize or admit is that he's quite knowledgeable. Okay, he got a barbarian to 100 in Diablo 4. He's got several other characters in Diablo 4, uh, at least in the 50s, if not 60s. I watched him get a necro in Season 1 into the 50s until he finally got sick of it. And this video is his explanation as to why he quit Diablo 4. So let's take a look and see what we can see here.
They want to defend their $70 purchase. They want somebody to they don't want somebody to tell them that they made the bad call, okay?
Right.
Like after they just spent 70 fucking dollars, yeah, that's the last thing they want to hear about.
Let's go full screen.
So, basically a lot of people, I guess I could like type it out. The reason why I stopped playing the game is because I don't think the mechanics for the game are that great. Like, and it's not about like them being hard or not. So like, there's two spectrums, right? And I guess like, so I'll try to explain it, and if I can't, then it is what it is. Let's go ahead and open up one of these, and then we'll open up one of these, right? So, like, this is how I see games, okay? I guess I'll just put it right here on like two spectrums, right? Is you've got hard and then easy. And then you have unfun and then fun.
Now, I think the thing we have to be careful here, I respect what he's trying to do. He's trying to lay down objective metrics for analyzing a game, but these aren't objective. Easy and hard is a subjective label you're going to place on something, and fun and unfun is another subjective label you're going to place on something. So you're trying to do you're trying to make something subjective objective, and that is going to be inherently inaccurate. Games are art, at least they should aspire to be, and art is subjective. And so I think while it's laudable that he's trying to put a system on top of his analysis of games, we have to be very careful, and we have to recognize the limits of that system. I don't think this is a waste of time. I just think we have to be careful.
So these are two different lines. So if something is really hard, that doesn't make it fun. And if something is really easy,
Agree.
that also doesn't make it fun.
Agree.
There are things that they exist beyond.
I mean, if a game is too easy, then there's no challenge, and you're completely passive. You're just, the game is being played for you. You might as well be watching a movie or reading a book. Not that there's anything wrong with watching movies and watching TV shows and reading books. Those are fun and enjoyable forms of entertainment. Whereas games are, in my opinion, supposed to be interactive. And in order for it to be interactive, there has to be some challenge, right?
On that. So like, for example, oh fuck, how can I give a good example for this? Shit. The Diablo 3, I would say it's a pretty easy game. It's not very fun.
I mean, he said pretty easy. um, I don't consider Diablo 3 to be pretty easy. I would put it in the middle of the spectrum. But again, it's subjective, right? It's my preference, my opinion versus his preference and his opinion. It's like saying, you know, I like, I like three sugars and cream in my coffee when that's the best way to do it, and then Asmongold here says no, one sugar and three creams, that's the way to do it. It's personal preference, I get where he's going with this, because I think probably the most probably the fairest way to judge these games in terms of easy versus hard is going to be comparative. And I would hope that we would all agree that Diablo 3 is easier than Diablo 4. And Diablo 3 is, in a sense, it's more complex than Diablo 2 because you have more buttons. But later, Diablo 2 becomes far more challenging when you move into the final difficulty and you run into all these immune mobs. I don't like it. I think it's a garbage mechanic, but it makes the game much harder than Diablo 3, much more challenging. So, we just have to be really careful here.
Something like I Want to Be the Boshi is a very hard game, but it's not very fun either.
Okay, never played it, but I'll
There's a
take your
game
word.
like Final Fantasy 16. It's very easy, but it's also very fun.
Okay,
Something like Sekiro, it's very hard, but it's also very fun.
okay,
So a lot of games are like they're challenging, but they're fulfilling whenever you overcome the challenge.
all right.
And I think that the
I see
reason
that.
why a game is fulfilling whenever you overcome a challenge, there's a couple of reasons, but for me personally, the biggest type of fulfillment that I get in a game is whenever I'm able to express my skill in the game in a way that I feel allows me to master the content.
Sure.
And what I mean by
Sure.
that is that like there's not like a gear check, there's not
Okay.
like you know how like
Here we go. Here's where I disagree, and I disagree 100%. Gear check. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But it seems to me that Asmongold's main game is World of Warcraft. WoW, the granddaddy of all MMOs. I played WoW when it first came out, and I played through, I guess Burning Crusade, and then I think the last time I played was Wrath of the Lich King, I think. And I got into raiding, and I raided for a few months. My memory is that WoW was nothing but a gear check, right? I mean, because you were working your way through the tiers of the raids, and so you had this baseline of gear that you would have when you were max level, and that would allow you to do the first tier of raids. And you would do those raids over and over and over again until you got all of the gear for your class and your build from that level of raids. And then that would give you a good enough gear score to then start working on tier 2. And you would repeat the process. Excuse me. And you would do this over and over and over and over and over again. So it seems to me that his number one game is nothing but a gear check. Secondly, just looking at the Diablo series, and I don't want to speak for all action RPGs, but I have played all the Diablos. And in all the Diablos, loot and gear has been a major part of the game. That was one of the reasons you were playing, was to get new loot. It's fun to get new loot, and loot and gear should matter because you get excited when something cool hits the ground and you pick it up and you're like, oh, this is an awesome sword, this is an awesome piece of armor, awesome piece of jewelry, whatever it is that you needed for your build and for your character. And so while Diablo doesn't necessarily have hard gear checks, it definitely has gear requirements. And I think that's part of the fun for the Diablo action RPGs, you basically have three game systems. You have three things that make up the gameplay experience: personal skill, your build, your skill selection, your perks and whatever attributes, and gear. And so to say that you don't want a gear check in Diablo 4, it sounds to me like you don't want to deal with 1/3 of what has historically been part of the core game mechanic of the Diablo series. And I think this is true in a lot of other action RPGs, but I haven't played them all. You know, I have limited experience in Path of Exile. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. I tried a lot. I put hours into Path of Exile, and I just didn't like it. But it's got, gear seems to be really important in Path of Exile. I don't know how important, but it seems to be one of the central pillars of the game, just like it is in Diablo. And then there's many other action RPGs. I haven't played them all. I'm not an expert, but this I don't want a gear check in Diablo 4. I completely disagree with this, because you are ignoring the history of action RPGs, and you're ignoring, hell, whenever I criticize Diablo, one thing I always come back with is that it has a fantastic loot system. It has all this varied, interesting, randomized loot and gear that hits the ground, and it's fun to grab it and look at it and analyze it and see if it'll work in your build. Yeah, I just completely disagree with the gear check point. I think there should be gear checks. I think gear should matter. I think it should be very important. I literally think it should be 1/3 of the gameplay mechanic.
Moog, for example, like unless you have like the physic, right? He just kills you, right, with the transition.
That sounds lame.
Well, I don't like difficulty like that. I think that stuff is garbage.
I think you're right.
So what I really enjoy is whenever I can outplay the game,
sure,
to an extent that I feel like being a good player has made me able to achieve something that I was not naturally able to achieve, right? So whenever I play Diablo 4...
I don't fully understand that statement. Not naturally able to achieve. I understand he didn't write a script for this. He's coming off the cuff here. I think what he means is he can achieve something greater than what his build and his gear would allow, is what I think when he's saying naturally achieve. And I think what he's saying is that he wants personal skill to matter more than build and gear. And if that's what he's trying to say, and I don't want to put words in Zach's mouth, I would completely disagree. Action RPGs, and especially RPGs, your build and your gear have always been critical elements of how successful you are in the game. And it is a challenge to have a good build. It is an intellectual challenge, which makes it far more interesting to me. Having the correct gear is, again, an intellectual challenge. It is an intellectual puzzle that you're solving. The game is challenging you and saying, oh, here's the next level of opponent, and you're not doing as well. So the challenge to you is to back off, figure out what's wrong with your gear, what's wrong with your build, fix it, and then go back in. Now, what he's saying, and I think I think this is very clear to me. He's saying he wants his personal, his stick and rudder skills, if you will allow me to. I'm a pilot, so if you'll allow me to draw from aviation, but your stick and rudder skills, he wants that to matter more than gear and build. I disagree. I want it to be balanced. I want it to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I really do. I want a balance.
I feel like a lot of things are kind of out of my control.
Yes, exactly.
And what do I mean by that is that, for example, like getting off-screened by attacks.
Yeah. Lame.
I don't think this should happen.
You're
Like,
right.
it doesn't matter how much damage the attack does. If it does 1 damage or 1 trillion damage, it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
I still think it's bad design.
I agree.
And like, that's part of the, again, that is the,
But see, now I think you need a fair, unfair line, because getting off-screened by something would be something I would call is unfair.
fun and hard category, right?
Right.
Now you want to hear about something that's easy and unfun. Farming renown.
Okay. I have to take exception with this. Farming renown. To me, you're being pejorative here by calling it farming. It would be the same thing as if you said grinding renown. I'm going to defend Diablo 4 on this one, at least a little bit. To me, the renown system doesn't need to be farmed or ground in order to be completed. I did look up some of the altars of Lilith. I will admit to that. I metagamed part of that. But a lot of my renown came from simply naturally playing the game. Now, I have to be clear about this. I am a completionist, and I am really big into exploration. I'm really big into running quests. These are the things I like in a game. Okay? I don't like having to run the same dungeon over and over and over and over again and not completing it and resetting it and then go. I hate that. I hate that type of metagame gameplay where you're not just... I want to pretend to be a barbarian. I want to pretend to be the lone wanderer in Fallout. And I think a game is great when the rewards come naturally through just playing the game. So you don't have to go out of your way to do lame things to succeed. And I think this is one area where Skyrim fails and Fallout succeeds, in that I always found myself in Skyrim AFK training my tunes to level up, to get my armor skill up, to get my to get my block up, you know. I had all these tricks to level up in Skyrim, and I would just leave the game running, and I would go downstairs and watch a movie or watch a video or go read a book or go do some chores, you know. And I think when we say things like grinding renown, I think people are missing the forest for the trees, because if you just play the game naturally, if you just get out there in the open world and explore, if you get out there and run this, look for the side quest, find the side quest, run the side quest, play the main campaign, do the strongholds naturally when you're of the appropriate level to run them, you will get 80 to 85% of the renown, and then you'll have to go and actually grind probably 10-15% of it. Now, I will agree that I think it's lame that you have to repeat a certain amount of the renown system in the seasons. I think that is just blatant game extension on Blizzard's part. You know, they're literally taking an achievement they've already given you, and they're erasing a third of it. Why? Well, because they want you to spend more time stuck in doing something you've already done. Okay? And that's not fun. But I don't think it's fair to call it farming or grinding renown, and I don't think it's unfun. It is easy in the sense that it will naturally come to you if you just play the game, right?
So, like, I want to kind of explain, like, where I'm coming from with this kind of stuff. And a sheer amount of CC, yeah. So whenever I do a dungeon,
way too much crowd
and
control.
then I get hit by, make a fair and unfair to make a trifecta of design.
Right. Fair and unfair.
Sure. Fair and unfair matter. Whenever I get hit by an attack that I can't outplay.
Right.
Like, there's no, like, how do you outplay something that just is targeted directly onto your character and then instantly kills you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the way that you outplay
Lame.
that is you get better gear, right? That's how you do it. But I just feel like that's not a very fun way to play the game, right? It's not an enjoyable way to play the game. It's not like, I don't feel like I have achieved anything whenever I do that,
have.
because the gear that I have.
You have achieved something, okay? Figuring out what is the most efficient and quickest way to get gear and figuring out what gear you need is fun. It's an intellectual challenge. It's an intellectual puzzle. It's part of the game. It's an inherent part of the game. It's a historical part of the game. So I think if you I think if you completely ignore or don't want to deal with the gear system, I think you're playing the wrong game. Seriously, because these Diablo style action RPGs, loot is a critical part of the game. It always has been, and it always will be. At least I hope it always will be, because I think it's fun.
Obtained was not obtained through any level of like skill,
Sure it was,
or any level of understanding of the game. Like, I didn't earn this gear. I just simply this gear simply occurred.
What earn? I hate that word when applied to a game. This is entertainment. The ultimate reason for playing any of these games. Why do we play Diablo? Why do we play Skyrim, Fallout? You know? Why do we play Baldur's Gate? Why do we play Counter-Strike? Battlefield? Fun. Entertainment. Now, what's entertaining differs from person to person. But earning something? That sounds like work. You know? I don't like that word applied to games. I really don't.
Right? And whenever I play through a game and there's enough mechanics like that, it separates my sense of fulfillment whenever I achieve something in the game from the game itself. So what I mean by that is that I don't feel fulfillment whenever I play a game that I just have, like, I don't feel good whenever I autoplay the simulated universe level 7 or whatever the fuck in Honkai Star Rail, or I autoplay an Echo of War, because I spent money on the game and my characters are really good, right? Like, there's no achievement there. Whereas, like, whenever I have a very good character in Dark Souls and I'm able to beat a boss in a certain way, it's because I have achieved mastery over that boss through knowledge. I think with Diablo 4, there are a lot of things that you can't really achieve mastery over the game with. And these are like kind of intricacies of the design. Things like getting hit by attacks that were off screen.
Right, that's lame.
Things that auto-aim directly onto your character and then just instantly kill you.
Sure,
like, there's no real way I can outplay this. There's no way that I can do better with this. Like, it's so, like, there were a lot of people that were saying, like, oh, well, you know, you're under level, so it makes, like, of course it's hard for you to do the capstone dungeon, which is true, definitely true. However, I did it at an even lower level on a barbarian. And how many of you guys in season 1 for Diablo, how many of you guys cleared the capstone dungeon at under level 60? It was always
okay, so full disclosure, again, like I said, I'm a completionist. I like to explore. I like running quests. You know, one time, years ago, I heard this I'm not going to call them names, this person who referred to quest grinding. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about here? Because he's complaining about, and I think it was Skyrim. This guy was complaining that he had to run quests. And I'm like, first of all, you don't have to do anything in Skyrim. It's an open world. You can go do whatever the hell you want. You can roll up your tune, you get out of the intro, and you can never touch the main campaign again. And you can play for hundreds of hours. You don't have to run the side quests. And this guy is complaining about quest grinding. I'm like, dude, it's an RPG. RPGs are built around quests. And it's this terrible mindset, this ADHD generation where they can't focus for longer than 3 minutes, bitching about running quests in an RPG and calling it grinding. And it's just, It's so nonsensical that I it's hard for me to even respond to it. I'm not saying he's complaining about that, but
It's true. Too much power is boring. Pit 1 is boring. Yeah, right. So like lots of people have
so in terms of, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So he's talking about finishing the first capstone dungeon before 60. I went at it at 50. I didn't do that on purpose. I just I just naturally played the game. It was just how I approached the game. That I was about, I don't know, if I was 50 or 48 or 49 when I finished the main story, because I really took my time. I mean, I've seen some of these other YouTubers who rush through it, and I think like Rax and Riker, I think they can finish it in the high 30s, low 40s. You know, they play differently than I do, and that's fine. It's their nickel. Enjoy the game how you want to enjoy it. But so I went at it at 50, which was the level, that was its minimum level. That was the recommended level. So that's what I did. Um, I may have gone out and in World Tier. I know I was in World Tier 2 because I played through the game in World Tier 1. I know I was in World Tier 2 for a little while. And I think I was doing, is it Trio Whispers? Can you? Yeah. I think you do Trio Whispers once you finish the main campaign, World Tier 2. I probably did some Trio Whispers, got myself to 50, and then ran the capstone, and I did just fine on a barbarian. So, and I think that's fine. Um, I think in RPGs, zones should have levels. Now they should telegraph this to the player so the player doesn't go in there and get their face caved in. Um, but there's nothing wrong with having high level zones and low level zones. It gives you a feeling of power progression. And I think it's a good thing.
done this, so it's not like it's impossible to do. I agree. I just don't understand why people keep making excuses for bad game design. Because people take pride in their accomplishment.
Right.
And if you explain that their accomplishment is just an outcome of simply beating a number generator, then the accomplishment doesn't matter.
You got to be really careful with this, man. You got to be really careful with this. When you're basically saying that if I overcome a challenge through gear and build, this is somehow inferior to someone who overcomes a challenge where they use more of their eye-hand coordination and twitchy skills. No, I completely disagree. These are RPGs. These are action RPGs or RPGs. They have always had an element of character build and gear. It's an intellectual puzzle. It's an intellectual challenge, and it's every bit as laudable as someone's eye-hand coordination. The eye-hand coordination part of it is not a greater achievement than someone who has intellectually figured out part of the puzzle, part of the system. I think this is what's wrong with the Souls games, which I absolutely hate. I hate the Souls games. I have played them. I have tried. I tried Elden Ring, and I hate it. And I will tell you why. And if you will let me change gears on you, I know this will be kind of a sudden segue. I want to change gears to food. I cook. I take pride in the things that I cook. I try to make them as well as I can. I'm a foodie. I watch food shows. It's just something, I go to really interesting restaurants and eat interesting food whenever I can. My analogy will use chili. Okay, I'm from Texas, and in Texas, chili is a big part of our cooking culture. There are people whom I disagree with who think that crazy super hot chili is the best thing going, and I think it's utter crap. It is in no way impressive for me to put together a bowl of chili and then dump 3 pounds of cayenne pepper into it. Any monkey can do that. Okay? It does not take any skill. It does not take any finesse to make crazy hot chili. The skill, the beauty in making a great chili or a great pad thai is balancing the flavors, balancing the cayenne and the chili powder, the heat, the spiciness, with the garlic, with the salt, with the natural flavors from the meat and vegetables you put into it. And all of these things should come out in the experience when you eat it. It is far more impressive to balance a dish in terms of all of its different flavors and textures, as opposed to a chili that's just ridiculously hot. And for me, that's Souls and Elden Ring. What they have done is they have taken the bosses, where normally in a game like Skyrim, the boss will have, let's just say, 1,000 hit points. And the player can hit for 100. Okay? And then let's say the player has 800 health, and the boss will hit for 50 to 100 points of damage. Okay? This, in my opinion, is balanced. Whereas in Elden Ring, the boss has 10 million health, and you hit for 50. Okay? That's not interesting to me. They make the players super weak, and they make the bosses super strong. It's not impressive, it's not laudable, and it sure as hell isn't content. All it is one insanely difficult, highly twitchy, highly timed fight after another. There's no content, there's no side quests, there's no world building, there's no immersion. It's just one crazy hard boss fight after another. And of course, all the damn normal mobs are just as overpowered as the bosses. The first time I fought a normal mob in Elden Ring, and the son of a bitch, reared back and hit me for 1/3 of my health. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And they swing fast. You can't interrupt them. You wind up rolling around like a fucking idiot. I hate it. I think it's absolute garbage. That's my subjective personal opinion. I know Elden Ring is super popular, and I'm going to get flamed for saying I don't like Elden Ring, but I don't care, because I think that is part of the problem of this argument. This overestimation of personal skill in RPGs and ARPGs. We're talking Counter-Strike. Yeah. Obviously, personal skill plays a big role in Counter-Strike. I don't play first-person shooters anymore. I've lost interest. I'm just not interested in them anymore. I used to play them a lot. This effort to make fantasy RPGs, or even non-fantasy RPGs, to make them these twitchy fulfillment achievement system is a bad thing. Okay? You should not be getting your life fulfillment, your feelings of achievement from a game. These are entertainment. We play these things for fun. I agree they need to have a certain level of challenge in them. Absolutely. They can't be so easy that you just sit back and watch them play themselves. I completely agree with that. The problem is, so many of you people on the twitchy, reflex, personal skill side of the argument, you take it so far to the extreme, whereby in a game like Elden Ring, where gear hardly matters, build hardly matters, and don't try to tell me that I'm wrong. I got 60 hours in Elden Ring, okay? And I've been gaming since the 90s. I can smell bullshit from a mile away, okay? Elden Ring is all about twitch. It's all about timing. It's all about personal skill. It's all about dying over and over and over and over again. And there's nothing heroic about dying repeatedly to a boss. It completely bamboozles me that people get some type of fulfillment from going in and dying over and over and over and over and over again, 50, 60, 70 times to a boss. And they want to talk to me about a feeling of fulfillment. All it does is piss me off. You're playing it to feel like the hero. You're playing it to feel heroic. And you just died 20 times before you finally, he makes this little twitch with his pinky toe before he swings his sword. So when I see his pinky toe twitch, that's the time to roll. Ugh. No. No. I agree that games need challenge. But when I put the challenge slider somewhere on the... I want that challenge slider in the middle between easy and hard. Because making a super hot chili, making a super hard game, is not impressive. Doesn't take any skill. Doesn't take any finesse. Okay? You can give the damn boss 10 million hit points and make me hit for 100. Whoopie fucking do. Not impressed. Get that challenge slider in the middle. Balance it. That's impressive. That's where the skill is. That's where the fun is. Where the game is challenging enough that you're not passive, but that it's not so hard that you have these ridiculous levels of deaths and this amazing amount of frustration, which I that's not fun. I'm sorry, it's not fun. And I don't get my sense of achievement from a game. Okay, I get my sense of achievement from my college degree, from raising my sons, from taking care of my house, from taking care of my life. Okay, these are achievements. Landing a plane, these are achievements. Beating a boss in Elden Ring, it's not an achievement. It's just a damn game, guys.
Which is true. Like, I think that Uber Lilith is an accomplishment to beat in Diablo 4. Yeah, it is. But the way that like 99% of people beat Uber Lilith isn't challenging, and it's not skillful.
So
they play a broken build. They one phase her in a second.
But that's an intellectual achievement, okay? And that is more impressive than a twitchy, oh, I moved my mouse faster than you did, and so I beat Lilith. Somebody that can go in one phase Lilith because their build is so crazy strong, because their gear is so crazy strong, they figured that out, okay? It's an intellectual achievement, and it's more impressive than a dexterity-based achievement.
They don't do any mechanics, and they just kill the boss, right? So, and I think that to an extent, that is something that you've learned this and you've put it together, and so like you've earned that achievement. So I can understand why people think it's okay, but the difference is that even if you're not able to do that, you can still outskill the boss.
Okay.
Like, an insanely good player can beat Uber Lilith without a lot of gear.
Okay.
But a really, really bad player can still beat Uber Lilith if they have...
Now see here, I don't know that Asmongold fully understands how bad some of these people are. And I don't mean to sound like... I hope I don't sound like an elitist. I've played with some friends who were absolutely terrible at Diablo 4. I mean, they couldn't get through the first boss fight in the main campaign. Died repeatedly. And they just did it over and over. Every time we got to a boss battle, I'm running around trying to stay alive and rezzing their dumb asses. And just terrible, okay? I can say with total sincerity and total surety that these guys would not beat Uber Lilith. I don't care what their gear was. I don't care what their build was. They were really, really bad. And they're good people. It doesn't make you a bad person because you're bad at Diablo 4. And I think Asmongold, I think he only plays with at least a minimum competence level of player. And he hasn't sampled how truly bad some of the people are playing this game. So I mean, personal skill does matter. I just don't think personal skill should trump gear and build. I think they should all be balanced. Okay.
Have ridiculous gear or a ridiculous build, and I would say that is in general kind of good design, and that's the kind of design that I want to see in games.
Yeah,
the design that I don't like seeing in games is whenever there are things that the player can't realistically avoid.
Sure, I agree with that.
And there are just like hard checks that happen. And I think that with Diablo, it feels a lot worse because in Diablo, like, the game is incomplete.
Yes.
So whenever I get killed
Absolutely.
by something that's frost damage, like I did in this clip, the first thing that I think of is that I'm having my time wasted by Blizzard because they can't be bothered to balance resistances.
Exactly. Yeah.
Resistances are broken in the
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't know exactly what's wrong with resistances, but I know on my 75 barbarian, and I built him very tanky, and he has high resistances up near and around 75% in World Tier 4, and I can be playing on that barb, and it's a fortification build. And I'm at 95% health, and I'm in the fight. There's mobs all over the screen, and everything is going well. The tune is performing the way I expect it to perform. Everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, wham! I either get killed or knocked down to 15%. And I wonder if there's something wrong with the resistance system or bugged in the resistance system, such that I'm getting my protection, and then something goes wrong, and suddenly I have 0 resist. And in this clip, Asmongold's Necro instantly dies to a cold on death effect, and it is cheap, it is unfair, it is lame, it is a complete bullshit death. And I totally get where he's coming from on this one. There's something wrong under the hood, but I don't know what it is.
game, and that's why, like, how many of you guys in Diablo, like, you'll be going along doing just fine, having no problem with anything, and then you'll get killed by some sort of magic attack in the game. Like, whether this is added shadow damage in Nightmare Dungeons, whether this is lightning damage, whether it's frost damage, etc. Right? And why does this happen?
I don't know.
It doesn't happen because the game is designed that way. It happens because resistances are bugged, and you're not able to effectively gear against magic damage.
Could be right.
Unless you get a lot of armor, which is like the only solution. So what's the... What's... Like, so like I have this happen, and it's like I think to myself, I'm playing a game that's broken.
Yeah, I agree.
That, like, they can't even... Like, why are you so zoomed in the game?
Yeah.
For example.
It's too zoomed in.
Like, what is the value of this? Is this making my experience better? No, I think in fact it makes it worse. So, yeah, the lightning obelisk fuckers. Yeah, exactly.
Let's skip ahead. This video is getting really long. I know there was something here in the middle.
That's the player that kills the boss, not the build. It depends. But yeah, I just got a clear answer. People just disagree, just gaslighting you. Well, I was surprised that there were so many people that were trying to explain that I was a low level, and I think that the people that were make the game fun, and every time I die to one, I think the game sucks, not I suck. I never die to an on-death effect and think, oh man, I should have played better.
Yeah, the on-death effects are so overused in World Tier 4. You start to see it in World Tier 3, and you get to World Tier 4, and it's like, oh my god, not everything has to blow up when I kill it. And these people who are like, well, just watch where you're standing. God damn it, there are mobs everywhere. Because in World Tier 4, the only way Blizzard seems to know how to ramp up difficulty is to spawn in more monsters. Well, you spawn in more monsters, there's more corpses. There is nowhere to stand that's safe. And you're like, don't stand in the fire. Yeah, duh shit. I've been hearing that since 1996. I know, don't stand in the fire. The whole fucking screen's on fire, bro. Okay? That's the problem with Diablo 4. Okay? There's off-screen shit killing you. There's way too much crowd control. And everything blows up when you kill it. Everything. It's insane. It's not fun. It's cheap. It's unfair. Asmongold is 100% correct here. This is lame. It's bad game design. It's bad game mechanics. And it's why so many of us are quitting. You know, this is one of the reasons he quit. It's one of the reasons I quit. I completely agree with him. Super lame. If I find it.
Mouse and keyboard. There is? No, there's not. I know what you're talking about, but there's not. Diablo 4 was made to build to get money out of pockets, not because it's a successor of Diablo 2. I don't know. I mean, like, am I crazy for just being like, hey man, can we just improve some of the things that are like obviously broken?
Yeah. I mean, I think Diablo 4 has failed to be an iterative process. And by that I mean, we have Diablo 1. Certain things worked, certain things didn't. We moved to Diablo 2. You should learn from Diablo 1, right? Keep the things from Diablo 1 that worked. Get rid of the things that didn't, and then innovate on top of that. It should be iterative, okay? And then D3 should take the lessons learned from D2. And then D4 should have taken the lessons from D3 and applied them. They didn't do it. I don't know what the hell Blizzard was thinking. But they completely threw out the loot system from Diablo 3, which was, in my opinion, one of the best aspects of Diablo 3. I thought that loot system was very good, maybe even excellent, okay? And they just completely reinvented the wheel for the loot system in Diablo 4, and it's garbage. It's this nested if-then-else 5% lucky chance to get a 50% chance to execute injured mobs. What in the hell is that? Okay? So this particular aspect has no effect on healthy mobs. It's garbage. And give me plus to strength, give me plus to dex, plus to vitality, plus to health, plus to crit chance, plus to crit damage, my resistances, my armor, dodge, cannot be frozen. Where the hell is cannot be frozen? Yeah, no, they didn't learn. They didn't build on Diablo 3. It's as if there's nobody working at Blizzard who developed Diablo 3. It's like there's no institutional memory.
Like, I'm not asking, good guys, I'm not asking. I'm not asking to remake the whole game.
Sure.
I'm
right.
just asking like a few little things that I think don't work that well.
Oh,
Like, stop getting, fucking get rid of the things that just do damage to you with no counterplay. Just delete them.
Right.
Get rid of them. Turn them in.
And a different part in the video, I'm not sure where it is, but he makes a great point when talking about the stash. And so many of us in the player playing community, in the Diablo 4 community, we have screamed at Blizzard, why is my inventory and bank stash being filled with all these damn gems? It's ridiculous. We need a gem tab or a gem bag. Why is inventory space so limited? Because all, a ring is the same size in your stash as a two-handed sword. It's stupid. Where's the learning? And then Blizzard comes back and says, oh, well, we can't reprogram your inventory and your stash quickly because what we've done is we've made it so that anytime a player gets near you, your client has to render all their inventory. Who in the hell thought that was a good idea? And Asmongold is like, it's fucking stupid. And he's absolutely right. Whatever talking monkey thought this was a good idea needs to be unemployed, okay? Because Blizzard is using this as a reason why they can't fix stash until Season 2. Are they lying to us? Or are they really that stupid? I think they're really that stupid. So anyway, guys, that's most of his argument. I know I'm going to get flamed over the Elden Ring stuff. That's fine, because I hate it. I hate Elden Ring. I hate that type of game design. I know there's a lot of people who love it. Okay, fine. But a lot of his argument, a lot of Asmongold's points, I think are absolutely spot on valid. If I had to guess, I'd say 85% of his argument, I'm right there with him. I completely disagree on gear, and I completely disagree on earning things in a game. I completely disagree on. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounds to me like he thinks personal, twitchy, reflex-based mouse and keyboard skills should trump gear and build, and I completely disagree. I think it should be balanced. I think it should be 1/3 for each. I totally agree that games have to have some challenge in them. I think they have to have significant challenge in them. But I think you should also have a difficulty slider, and put the normal difficulty of the game where as it was designed, put that in the middle, and then have some more difficult settings for people who want a greater challenge, and have lower difficulty settings for people who they just want to play through the game, see the world, see the story, and then that way all the different gaming styles are allowed for. The problem in a game like Diablo 4 is that if you play the game on a lower difficulty setting, you get significantly less XP and less loot. So if somebody who just wants to come through and play it on very easy, it's going to take them forever to level. It's going to take them forever to get decent gear. And I don't think it's fun or fair to penalize someone for playing the game the way they want to play it. Okay? I don't think that people playing on higher difficulty should necessarily get greater rewards. That's just your personal preference. Giving greater rewards for higher difficulty implies that this is the better way to play the game. And I think that's wrong. I think a game like Skyrim, where, I played it on the highest difficulty. I played it on Legendary. I didn't play it on but I would turn it down to the easier ones when I was training, which of course that was metagaming, and that's a shortcoming of Skyrim. That's something I wouldn't do in Fallout 4. I always played Fallout 4 either on the medium settings or the higher settings. But again, so I think Asmongold makes some great points. I think he's absolutely right to call Diablo 4 a bad game. I think it's now a 4 out of 10, and I stand by that. And I'm not happy about it, because I truly loved the 1 to 50 gaming experience in Diablo 4. I think it was fantastic. I think Diablo 4 1 to 50 is quite possibly the best gaming experience of any Diablo game. I think the main quest is great. I think a lot of the side quests are great. I think a lot of the in-game systems that you're playing with are a lot of fun. I wish the open world meant more than it does. But what's sad is once you finish the main campaign, to me, the game drops off in terms of fun, and I lose interest because it's just so grindy. It's so repetitive. And like he points out, and see, the thing is, you don't see a lot of these problems 1 to 50 in World Tier 1, even in World Tier 2. A lot of the problems that we're calling out really start to show themselves in World Tier 3. And by World Tier 4, they're game breaking. Okay? And a lot of these people who are posting say, oh, well, I have a 42 Necro and I'm having a ball and the game's great. Yeah, you haven't got there yet, pal. Okay? And I think that's the argument Zach is making, and it's an argument that I'll make, that the game is just completely unfun in World Tier 3 and World Tier 4. And that's why we quit. Okay? So anyway, that's my response. I think he's made a great video. I think he makes a lot of good points. God, I really went longer than I meant to. But there's so much to unpack here, you know. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. If you hung around this long, like, subscribe, and share. I'll put a link in the description to Asmongold's original video. Not that he needs my help with my pathetic little number of subscribers. But thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Have a good one.